Is your job in compliance safe from AI? Or what will be replaced when it comes to AI? Is AI the end of compliance officers' jobs life? These are the questions that we will address in our today's topic when it comes to threats and opportunities from AI in compliance. My name is Rolf Ebert. I'm the compliance coach, 20 years of experience in the compliance sector in different banks. I am here to guide you through this fantastic topic. You will learn in essence 4 elements. Number 1 is what AI means in compliance. Number 2 is how it supports today compliance function in the daily work. 3 is then, is it or when will it replace compliance officers? And most important, of course, is what can you do in terms of staying ahead of the game in AI and with AI? So stay tuned on this channel until the end. Thank you again for joining to another episode of the Compliance Coach. Today we're talking about AI and compliance. Not the first time that I am talking about this topic. Some of you might remember already when I talked about the human touch in compliance and what it means in terms of finding talents or the battle for talents when it comes to AI technology. And of course, in all the topics, AI plays a big role. But laying back and taking a little bit of 360 or helicopter view, it's very interesting in terms of what is AI in compliance? Because we all know it from what we do in ChatGPT, in our daily life, but how could it affect or how does it affect already in compliance? So I have in essence 4 dimensions where the AI is already taking place. And that is not because we are having suddenly robots to talk to or making decisions. No, it's already in terms of elements, technologies, algorithms that help us in our today's world. So number 1 is of course machine learning, meaning the probability of alert detecting and then to enhance it and enrich it and getting better and better every time. Even us as a human being, we can learn a lot from that. The second one is the natural language processing, so-called NLP, very important part as well for detection processes when it comes to transaction monitoring, but even for QIC processes in general. Number 3 is pattern recognition. That is in particular for elements like transaction monitoring, market abuse technologies. Very interesting to detect new patterns that could indicate a certain risk, what we call money laundering or compliance risk. And of course, technology has sometimes an advantage, even if it comes to very skilled people. So we will find that out as well of how this is helping us. And last but not least, predictive risk scoring. What do we mean by that? I come to that in a second, but these are in 4 elements the ingredients of how AI is made in compliance. So let's talk about how these kind of AI concepts are already supporting us in compliance on a daily business. Sometimes you hear about natural language processing, NLP. So what does it mean? Easy. For instance, in daily screening perspectives, banks, for instance, have screening machines which try to find out whether on your client there's any kind of what we call negative news. So literally speaking, in good old times, compliance officers had then kind of a hit that was generated in database, and then they went through the kind of articles with Google, etc. You go then into it, try to find out, is it positive, is it negative, in which context it has been used or not. Here, for instance, AI supported tools that have this kind of NLP element helps us enormously in doing, number 1, faster screening, and secondly, prioritization. Because sometimes you find thousands of articles on one client and you find out that there's only one source to it, or at least it comes all from the same kind of negative news, meaning one negative news producing 10,000 of articles. And these kind of tools help us to bring it together, consolidate it, and by saying that's really often important. So it's a huge advantage when it comes to time-consuming work, and to have it is, I have to say, really in today's time, a huge advantage. Number 2 and 3 is machine learning and pattern recognition. Here, another example, for instance, whenever we are in the transaction monitoring, most of the banks are using so-called thresholds, meaning as of 10,000, 100,000, there is an alert being generated, and we look into it. Who is the client? Which is the counterparty? So does it make sense? A lot of clients have already understood that the higher the amount, the bigger the focus on it. So they do just the same total amount of 100,000 in 4 smaller amounts, and sometimes try to circumvent that, even if we have so-called smurfing alerts, meaning over a certain elapse of time, you look at the same aggregated amount, but in smaller portion. You will not always find them, because then clients are very often going through third parties in terms of ultimately giving one transaction to the final person, but in different ways. And here steps our AI super world into it, by giving us support in terms of finding out complex structures and complex transactions when they're happening through different channels, as well as by using certain counterparties. And that, honestly, you need a lot of expertise as a compliance officer to find that out. And in particular, if you have so-called commercial transactions, meaning you're serving clients which have it as a day thousands of transactions, it's nearly impossible of doing this in a manual work. So here, these two elements, machine learning and pattern recognition, have a high impact. And the last one is predictive risk scoring. What do we mean here? It's very much in the world of risk-based approach. Formerly, that was a rules-based approach. Hopefully not in the future a fear-based approach. But the risk-based approach gives banks and financial institutions the occasion to define what they do in terms of enhanced due diligence by certain risk patterns, risk elements. And so predictive risk scoring can help you already to assess before the account is opened, before a transaction is taking place, the likelihood of your transaction or relationship of being risky or not. And that, of course, helps enormously when it comes to management of resources, your team resources, of the tool enhancement and the infrastructure that you need to be in place. So not to forget this one. We come now to the most interesting part in terms of, is AI now replacing the compliance officers, and how can we survive as a compliance officer or as humans in the AI world? And the answer to that is quite easy, straightforward, meaning it always comes from a contextual perspective. And when it comes to ethics, that AI in general is very good when it comes to collecting, consolidating, prioritizing information, and even provide you with decisional options in arbitrational trees, decision elements. But in terms of providing as well the kind of ethical element on this one, there's still a way to go. What do we mean by that? Meaning compliance risks is very often related to reputation risk. Now, what is reputation risk? Is it just the share price that is decreasing or increasing? Is it because you have regulatory fines? Is it because your reputation in public is differently, because you get more or less negative articles? That kind of contextual approach is for now still reserved to humans, where we can play our game. And that might already indicate where we position ourselves when it comes to AI. Number two is that regulators have two elements when it comes to AI. Number one is they cannot accept black box models where you say, this is our new algorithm. It has been calculated by our super performing AI tool. We don't have a clue why it's like that and why we define a threshold, for instance, in transaction monitoring at that level. But it seems to be the most powerful tool on the market, so it should be right. That is certainly not enough, and that is certainly as well related, because still regulators searching for the human kind of oversight and as well the accountability. I didn't see so far any kind of AI robot or computer going to prison or being shamed and named publicly. It's always the people behind it in the bank, meaning CEOs that have to go for their mea culpa. The compliance officers, they are going to prison. Banks are losing their licenses and not AI computers. So still as well in terms of who's responsible for the compliance part, ultimately it comes to us. So in this world, AI will not replace that level of accountability and when it comes to ethical background and ethical behavior. So the question is now, how do I step forward as a compliance officer? Yes, I saw AI coming more and more. The articles get more and more popular all over the place. And we, even in my compliance channel, we are talking about already AI on a very sophisticated level. So what should I do? Now, the easiest way, I think, is starting to get into the AI world and understanding of how AI is built upon, because being very honest, it's nothing new. It has been started already in the year of 56. So therefore, when it came to first automation and digitalization, we are not supposed of coming something which is completely new. Now, let's get one thing straight. I'm a big believer in when it comes to digitalization and the change, and AI will be certainly more disruptive than the introduction of the PC, for instance, which were clearly designed to help people and not to replace, or even to switch the power shift between humans and the technology world. With AI, it's different, and I think we need to be aware of that one. So getting in your hub and in your cocoon by saying, I just simply ignore it, would be the worst decision and the worst recommendation that I would give to you. So get ahead with the topics, try to get to seminars. YouTube has so many things to offer, to see of what are the tools out there. And sometimes you would get surprised that even tools that always predict or that are getting marketed like, hey, the AI super tool including and they have not so many AI things that are so incredibly futuristic that we have never heard of. Sometimes it's just a nice coloring from the outside, but from the essence, the product did not change. So in terms of having these kind of tools for yourself to judge what's important, you should as well get into the world of what are the tools out there, how they are functioning. A lot of them are open source models, so still you can play a little bit around that. Collaborate as well with your internal data teams whenever it comes to projects and you have the possibility to participate. Don't participate only on the compliance expertise function in terms of putting the finger up when it comes to a certain calibration point or regulatory issue. Try as well to understand the end-to-end process and where it can help, because we have already discussed it a lot here on this channel when it comes to digitalization, end-to-end processes and how to do it. It is always an element, especially with AI, that it affects not only compliance, but as well the front. And so therefore it is a completely impact for the whole bank and needs to be of course managed in that way. Now, a lot of elements are currently coming out when you see on the AI Act in the USA. Europe does as well a lot on this one. Switzerland is still a little bit first follower principle. But AI governance is very important in terms of where is it put in your organization, who is responsible for that one from a data protection point of view, points taken or not. So whenever you have data affinity, that is as well a point that you should have a look in terms of where is AI placed in our organization, who are the deciders on this one. And of course, we should always come whenever AI is used in the terms of a 360 view when it comes to integration, to judgmental elements and interpretation. And that, if you focus on this one, you might even stay ahead of the AI world. And if you do it correctly, then AI is more of an opportunity than a threat. So thank you again for watching this episode. In a nutshell, AI will not replace compliance, but compliance officers using AI will replace those ones who are not using it. That would be my thesis on this topic when it comes to AI threat or opportunity in the compliance function. Let me know what you think. What's your commentary? Don't forget to subscribe and give me feedback so that I can construe the next episode even more of what you need. My name is Ralf Ebert. I'm the compliance coach, and I thank you again for being here on this channel, thinking and impacting compliance differently.